Hello and welcome back to the second day of our look at the Onside Sports Impact Monitor in partnership with Sport for Business, the fifth wave of which is being published this week. Yesterday we had a look at confidence in the market and the sector across the various different elements of the membership that contributed to it. Today we're going to be looking at the importance of diversity. We're joined by Kim Kerwin from Onside Sponsorship here in the wonderful Platform X studios of KPMG, and it was notable yesterday when we were able to announce that KPMG were coming on board as sponsors of the Women's Open. When we look at the research that was undertaken as part of this wave, women's sport was seen by many as being the optimum area that they wanted to get involved in.
Yeah, no, we see that coming through, very strongly in the research. 66% strongly agree that their organisation will be interested in supporting and advancing women's sport, and a further 22% slightly agree. So, very strong figures there. We've also seen, some very notable deals, and obviously the KPMG one, and also TikTok's title sponsor of the women's team in Six Nations, and Sky's sponsorship of the women's national football team. We've also seen this coming through, and Onside's deals tracker saw that 18% of the deals in Q1 of this year were in women's sport. That was very much in line with last year, but up 10% on 2019 and 2020, so quite a substantial increase there.
Something that we could only really have imagined 10 years ago, but which is very powerful as well. The research as well looks at where sponsorship is moving, that traditionally we would have looked upon it as being primarily a driver of brand awareness, but that's becoming less of a motivating factor in there now. And the power that sponsorship can do in relationship to women in sport, to diversity across the board, in relation to LGBTQ+, in relation to gender and race and everything else. How important does the research tell us that it is to be seen as doing the right thing and to have sponsorship with purpose as opposed to just branding?
Yeah, well, in this wave we found that 3/4 of the members agree that sponsorship is moving beyond brand awareness into more call to action. And our own research and the Onside industry report would back that up. As you say, brand awareness still obviously really important. For years it was the number one objective for sponsors. We now see that moving back to number 3, so still very important. But what has overtaken it is changing or reinforcing brand image, and also in number 2 has been talking about your CSR credentials and your community and your sustainability. So while it's still very important, there has been a move from first place to third place in the views of the industry.
And those are the kind of areas that some people within society might question whether a brand was really interested in that, but we're seeing it at every level within organisations, that the whole question of doing good with the sponsorship and with the outward looking face of a brand is really important. One of the third things that we had a look at in relation to sponsorship was the paucity of properties, so that there is an appetite, there is a hunger for brands to get involved in sport for all of the right reasons, the emotional connection it brings, but that at the highest level there is a shortage of properties and there's a busy space around it. Is that a concern?
Yeah, it's something that we're obviously watching very closely. We are seeing new entrants into the market. There's TikTok, as I mentioned. There's also, Horizon with the Irish Open. And, we're not seeing many people leave the market. So obviously where that situation exists, there will be sort of a lack of availability or competition for the most available assets. We also saw, it aligns very much with what we saw in the Onside industry report this year. 2/3 of people are going to be in the market for a new sponsorship asset. That was up from 52% last year, but only 35% were planning on exiting sponsorships. So obviously there's much higher demand there than supply, and we see that coming through in this research as well.
That may not be such a good thing in the housing market, but if you're a rights holder, that probably does give a little balance of power to you from this research. We have looked now at the first 2 elements of the report, today's session and yesterday's, where we looked at confidence in the marketplace. Join us again tomorrow when we'll be looking at some of the more negative side of restrictions.